Carlos Sainz is one of the most exciting drivers everyone is talking about right now. This isn't just because he doesn't have a team for the 2025 season, but also because of what's happening at Red Bull with some serious trouble going on. Perez probably isn't ready to become the main leader of the Austrian team. If everything goes wrong and Verstappen threatens to leave Red Bull for Mercedes, could we see Sainz as the next big star at Red Bull? And more importantly, will the 2024 season show that he has what it takes to be a world champion if he gets the right car? One of the biggest comeback stories we need to watch in the 2024 season is Carlos Sainz's story. The Spanish driver needs to prove to everyone in the world that the Ferrari team made a huge mistake by replacing him with Hamilton. He also needs to show that Ferrari's problems weren't because of their driver choices. He already started doing this in the first race of the year, where he did better than his teammate and George Russell, making a strong point right after both Red Bull drivers finished ahead at T1 point. He was also trying really hard to pass Sergio Perez, but he finally gave up because his tires were getting too worn out. Even so, Sainz was very competitive and showed that he can make brave moves to pass other drivers, whether it's his teammate or anyone else who gets in his way. This is what we should expect from him for the whole 2024 season. He started this racing year in the worst way possible for him, not knowing where he'll be driving in 2025. Ferrari is partly to blame for this mess. Right now, the future of the smooth operator is still up in the air, and there's one very hot seat that might be open starting in 2025. If Sainz proves he's the second fastest driver in 2024, Red Bull's Helmut Marko recently talked about Perez's future with the team. He said Perez needs to stop getting distracted and just be himself out there. So if Perez finishes in second place in the Drivers' Championship again, it's clear that he'll keep that seat from 2025 onward. However, with all the recent drama between the Verstappen family and Christian Horner's case, something we'll talk about in more detail later today, there's this huge chance that Sainz could use to help himself. He could join Red Bull and fight for race wins all the time. Yes, the number one choice is still Sauber and the Audi project, but there's a big problem that Sainz might run into here. He would have to drive for a couple of years at the back of the pack, because Audi said the first year they could think about being competitive is 2027. This means 2 years of basically building from scratch, and then it's not even a promise that starting in 2027, Audi will be at the front. Remember, they don't have any experience in this sport yet, unlike the open seats at Mercedes, Red Bull, or Aston Martin. Going deeper into this topic, Martin Brundle pointed out Sainz's age as the main thing he needs to think about when making a decision for his future. He said Sainz is 29 years old, and he can't afford to go and waste time for a team that's basically saying it's 2027 before they're ready to really compete. No. I don't think this is his next step at all. He needs to be looking at Mercedes, Aston Martin, or going back to Red Bull. For those of you who forgot, Sainz and Verstappen were teammates back in 2015. But because the Dutch driver showed he was so competitive from his early Toro Rosso days, he got moved up to Red Bull while Sainz continued his career at Renault. Later, Sainz joined McLaren and then Ferrari. These are two different paths for the 2015 teammates who could team up again starting in 2025. It's obvious that Sainz has grown up a lot as a driver. He proved this in the first race in Bahrain once again, by driving his own race and not caring about team orders or playing the long game with Ferrari. There's no doubt that he'll be competing a lot more than we could have expected before all the Hamilton drama happened at Ferrari. But why would Red Bull be such a great choice for Sainz? There's huge drama currently happening at the Austrian team, and it seems like the Verstappen family isn't happy with how the whole situation has played out with team principal Christian Horner. Jos Verstappen has talked about this problem even more, saying that if everything keeps going the way it is right now, then the team has a high chance of falling apart because of the toxic environment where everybody is stuck right now. Adding even more to this, as well as the accusations about whether or not it was him who leaked the details to the Dutch media, The Telegraph reported that Jos went on to add, "The situation is not good for the team and is driving people apart. There is tension here at Red Bull. While Horner remains in his position, the team is in danger of being torn apart. It can't go on the way it is. It will explode. Horner is playing the victim when he's the one causing the problems. Why would I do that? Max has a contract with Red Bull until 2028. He's performing great, and he feels at home here. I have no interest in leaking Horner's case to the media at all. Yet Zhou was seen having a conversation with Toto Wolff in Bahrain after the race in what looked like a very long talk, and the future of the three-time world champion was definitely one of the topics they discussed. Toto was also asked about this, and he carefully said that it was a very sudden thing that he and Zhou went on to talk about what's currently happening at Red Bull. When being asked about Max's future at Mercedes starting in 2025, Toto's words were, "Anything is possible." Obviously, Mercedes has two drivers who have the reputation to somehow replace what Hamilton meant to the team, and they're Alonso and Verstappen. The huge difference between them is that Verstappen has momentum, is on his side, and he's driving amazingly well with anything he's given. So if Mercedes wants to prove that they can win championships, then they have the perfect foundation to build on. But how does this affect Sainz? If there's one thing that Horner is very famous for, it's the statement from Monaco 2022, when he publicly said in response to Zhou that there is no driver who's greater than the team, and that's the rule that Red Bull has always followed. But the situation is loud and clear. Perez doesn't have what it takes to challenge Verstappen more often at the front. So if they want to make sure that the Dutch driver doesn't get too comfortable, they might bring a competitive driver like Sainz and build the team around him. This seemed a bit crazy to believe a couple of weeks ago, but after the latest statement from Zhou's Verstappen, it's obvious that the power change happening at Red Bull will leave permanent damage no matter who wins or loses in this whole situation. It has likely come to Red Bull having to choose whether they'll get rid of Christian Horner, the man who's been with them from day one and has won 13 combined championships with them, or Verstappen, the Flying Dutchman who can adapt to any car given to him and who will very likely turn Mercedes into an instant championship contender no matter what kind of car they have. Sainz's future sits only in his hands, and if he wants to be considered for this seat, he would obviously have to do better than Leclerc, which is something he will desperately push for now that he has nothing to lose. Yes, Leclerc did have brake problems throughout the race in Bahrain, but that doesn't change the fact that Sainz was also faster than Russell and managed to get on the podium after starting in 4th place, only being passed by the second fastest car on the grid, Perez's. That being said, the pressure is extremely high, and Sainz will also have huge competition from his fellow Spanish driver, Fernando Alonso, who might be looking at a Red Bull seat now that the Verstappen situation has opened up a spot for anybody who believes they're brave and fast enough to challenge him in a direct fight. With this in mind, and with a lot of rumors going around about Horner leaving for Aston Martin as their new team principal, do you think that Sainz's future is at Red Bull? And more importantly, do you think he has the potential to challenge Verstappen in the same car under the new situation at the Austrian team? Let us know in the comments down below.